Hello everyone. Uh, uh, Today's session I will take Spring REST API. Previous session was Hibernate Spring integration, and till the service layer we kept our application in service DAO and database. We have that integration now, right? I have shown you, and I have kept that integration proper. Service DAO and database. This layer is done. So before that, when you work in actually real project, so always there will be interface which will be standing in front of all the consumer call or client calls or client request. And when I talk about, when we all talk about, or when the world talk about opening a browser and hitting a URL. So browser is the interface, right, where you hit a URL and you access the services of different website. Similarly, when talking about software, in case of software, when you hit that URL in browser, that will go to the a service or a website. According to the layman language, it will go to a website and fetch information for us. So in that website, what actually it is, in that website, they will have an interface. That is either will be a, you know uh, to fetch data. They will either have a REST API, or maybe the the shop-based web services, or maybe normal HTML, Angular JS, or React JS, or any other JS framework applications, right? HTML and JavaScript framework application. That also will help them to fetch the information and show it or display it on UI or browser, right? So here, what I am doing here, till now, Java is done, XSD XML is done, then Hibernate Spring integration is done, logging aspect you already seen, you have already seen, and uh, AOP, that is the logging aspect, and log4j, everything is done till now. Now just need to have a REST interface to complete the service layer of the application. For that, today's session, I will show you how to create a Spring REST API, you know, uh, very easily using Spring Boot, right? And you also can go with Spring Web Services, Spring REST also normal without Spring Boot. See, the advantage of going with Spring Boot is here you just write your REST controller and things are done. You can right click run as application, and you can run it as just like a same old Java application, right? Like plain old Java objects. You can run it as Java application. How Spring Boot does this without any Tomcat, JBoss, and all other stuff. See, Spring Boot has embedded a server, inside is jar. Spring Boot jar. It has embedded a web server inside its jar. So when you run it, it will run embedded Tomcat and will deploy this REST application in that Tomcat. When you hit the URL, you get that application on your browser. So a simple application, REST service application to show how a REST service is created using uh, Spring Boot. I will do it today, and in future session, this same thing, the Spring REST API, which is I'm showing you today, that same similar kind of Spring REST API will get integrated with the service layer, what you know, what I have shown you in my previous session, just previous session, right? So in future session, that tomorrow or next session, we will integrate that REST API with the Spring Hibernate service layer. Let's start now. Let me share my screen. Oh, so my screen is here. My screen is here. Eclipse is visible. Before coming to session, I always do one. I always create one application for me and test it, and then come to the session, then come to the video recording. Otherwise, it will take some time. So here, I'm going to create a have an act type like same like what I used to do in previous session. The same thing I will go on to the Maven project next. See, you can go with the Spring Boot starter, or you can go with same old Maven act type, right? So what I will do, I will go with the same Maven act type, same old, and I will create a from there itself. I will show you how to manually add, you know, how to manually add the things into form. Because if you are creating manually a POM project on folder structure and all of that, or maybe any other editor which is not having any issue, not having that when that capabilities which will help you to create automatically, you can always follow the steps which I'm following. Automatic creation is always easy. You just do right click run as, or you just click on create, it will create. But you should know how to do it manually, then only it will help you, right? In future, you can easily understand how how things are getting created, right? So let me do that now. REST API, I just get the activated is REST API and I click on finish. It will take some time, few minutes, few minutes. Most probably it takes a minute to uh, create that type REST API. It's started. See, web services are very easy nowadays because of upgradation of technology, latest version of technology. So many things are in market, right? Creating a service is very easy nowadays. When I started my career in uh, when I started my career in 2006, that time fast web service I implemented was Apache Access. That was a bit easy for me to implement because I need to have a uh, WADL file, then WASDL file, that is shop-based web services. It was a bit then, old style of implementing web services with JAX RPC. And then Spring Web Services. Spring Web Services was also not that easy at that time. It was configuration. If you miss anything right there. Today also the same thing, but today you need not require to add a few things which you need to add that time. Today it is more flexible, more decoupled, more decoupled, more flexible. The dependency, that much of dependencies is not there. So yeah, the project was created today in the year of 2025. Technology is so advanced, you can create everything very easily. And again, internet is there that will help you to identify the things and fix it very easily. That time, internet was not that helpful. In case of Java, there are very few there are websites that helps, and that are the specific websites where a community or group of people they used to put all the information. You know, and if you have any new doubt, they put in that particular portal or website. After maybe a day or a few hours or some hours, you might get some information from someone, and then you have to go ahead. So nowadays, technology is very, advanced, and people know what to do, and search engines are too advanced. Again, with artificial intelligence side. So here I've created a folder called Java, the structure of Maven. Right. Inside this, I will create different packages that will help us to uh, put all this. What I will do, I'll I'll create first one package called what is the POM? Where is the POM? First, we'll read the POM, right? See, in POM there will be nothing. I will just edit the POM first, and then we will go to the thing. So POM here is name is REST API, right? And packaging it will be always a jar. So this is the REST API, and your 3017 activated this. This is the package com dot satya dot example.satya.rest, right? So let me create that package here. First one package at least. Package. Is it created? Then what I will do, I'll take the form. The form is a very important factor, right? See, in this form, I have added, I'm taking this from all the old projects, previous session project, so that what will happen, we will not miss any dependencies while integrating it with the Spring Hibernate project or the service project, right, which you already created in previous session. So all dependencies I'm taking together, even if it is not approved, but for this REST API. So I copied. I will tell you what extra is added here. Based on that you can understand. So I took the dependencies only, right? You have to add the dependencies and build. That's all we need to add in this particular project. Properties, everything, because nothing is there, right? Only default properties of the projects are there. See? So I copied everything. I added it here. This is what I added. So what extra thing here I added? See, this is what I added. Spring Framework dot boot org Spring Framework dot boot Spring Boot Starter ATS artifact ID version 3.4.4. This is what I added. For this Spring Boot Starter. This is the only new dependency which got added. There is one more dependency that is here. Okay? So this is one more dependencies. I'm just on doing I'm committing it com.fasterxml.jackson.data data format. So see, if you need artifact ID jackson hyphen data format hyphen xml version is 2.19.0 hyphen rc2. If you really need xml to be received or sent by your REST service, then you need to add these dependencies. Otherwise, Spring REST API or say this Spring app, otherwise the Spring REST API by default it works with JSON. We can just configure it to receive and send XML negotiation. Right? This is called contract negotiation. What is the contract you have? Either you want to go with XML or with JSON. So this is what dependencies I added. Maybe you by this is by what is by this week or maybe by the beginning of coming week, your full stack development will this Java session whatever I'm taking this will go and end with full stack development. And whoever is watching my video, they will learn how to develop a full stack or how to become a full stack developer. You know, in Java, how to develop a application starting from UI or starting from database to the UI or UI to the database, with whichever approach you take. I always start from the database and release the UI. So that's what I have shown you how to do it. Both of the approaches is good, but starting from database is basically you're starting from the base or the root. UI will keep changing, but your database will not change. Database will be the same always. The base will be always same. Okay, so let's here start. This is the Maven configuration done, and we don't need this Maven which I created as a POC uh, for me to see whatever issues I'm getting. Right. So here it is. This API. I will create a REST API here. Right, a class. I will tell this class as personal information API. Personal information API. Yes. And I need here one object. Right. I need one object. I will take this person object. I'll take this person object from here. That same whole package. I'll put it here. Right. This is how I got the object here. Person class. This is the object which I'll be using. This is the object which I'll be using for because it's the same object which you'll be using to transfer data from the UI or from the REST API implementation to database. and I will have a main class. I will have a that implementation fund for personal information. This implementation, right? So see how you do it. Here it's very simple. We will go and write the class. We'll go and write the program. There is nothing required much. I'll take the same program from here. Go to personal information API. Probably person to return the person, right? Method name I just copied from there because I want to keep the same method name. This is how your class. Right? This is how the class. Here, this fellow will return. Here I will not talk to the backend. Here just I will create. Just I will show how the REST API works, how you can make a REST API within few minutes without any error. That's it. Let me copy that. I created a person object. Let me copy that person object first, right? It will be faster. I copied this person object here rather than writing again. Let me copy it. Okay, this is how the person object we created here, right? And we return that person, that same person. So this is your REST API is created. See, in line number 10, I've written person, new person. So what will happen when I integrate the REST service layer here. Rather calling new person, I'll call the service layer method. That service layer method, what it will do, it will go to the data access object or data access layer, and from there it will hit the database. It will fetch the person's information from database, populate it, send back to the service layer. Service layer will send back to the particular place, line number 10, and that same person they will return from here as a response object to the caller. Either it is Angular JS or maybe any JavaScript framework, and that framework will receive this object, person object, and then it will, iterate the person object or read the values from the person object and populate it on the UI. So that's how it works actually. So let's see what is here. Here you have to simply you need to add REST controller here, right? The line number 6 I'm adding it. You just need to write REST controller. It is your REST controller. Now if you see in in REST API, you have put method, you have get method, you have post method, right? In most of the cases people use get and post method. So all the read methods will be get method, and if you are updating any information or creating a record, then it can be put or post method, right? There are so many differences where post need to be used, where get need to be used. I will talk while implementing, and at the end of the whole integration, I will give you the clear picture about REST, post, put, head, all the methods. So here you have to write this. This is a method. So in the case of method, you write what kind of method you are going to have this. So it is. I'm going to have it as a get method, right? It's a get mapping. So it is a get mapping. And in get mapping, you need to define the path. Let's say the path will be user. What is the path you're going to use to access user slash API, right? This is the path I'm going to access this particular method. So that's how you have to do here. This is what our REST control creation is done. Now you deploy it and test it. So simple, right? So simple it is. So let's go to Maven. Let's once build the Maven to see if Maven is proper. This is I'm just creating a framework. Don't worry about this. We will add lot of muscles into it. We will have all the CRUD operation, CRUD operation or card operation, right? CURD. Create, update, retrieve, delete. I always say create, update, retrieve, delete. Someone laughed at me, when I said this. They said, no, it is not card, it is CRUD. I told, see, what is the difference? I have all same operation. Create, retrieve, update, delete, or create, update, retrieve, delete, right? That's all. So clean install, it's here, it goes. You see if this build is happening successfully, right? Let me run it. Yes, it's going on. It's success. We build the success. So we'll go create a main method and run it, right? And run it because Spring Boot always you can always this is the advantage of Spring Boot is you do not require any Tomcat or external Tomcat, any external Tomcat or any external any external server web server to run it. You just need a main method to run it because Spring Boot provides Spring Boot provides your embedded Tomcat. I'll create a main method here, main class. So main class is ready here, right? So here we have to add, in this main class we have to add a Spring Boot configuration. Spring Boot application, and I'll copy this. This is to this I would have written out there, but I'll copy this. The same thing I have already written. Yeah. So Spring Boot application main dot class. Now just run it. It will start Spring Boot. Yeah, started. Start the Tomcat. And always Tomcat default port is 8080, 8080. Yeah, it's got deployed to 8080. Process running 1680 localhost 8080. This is how you will come to know the port number. If you don't know, it is saying Tomcat. Okay, Tomcat initialized with port 8080. So always check this port and always check this localhost, right? So always check that port and this localhost and then start hitting HTTP alone // This is HTTP. This is not host. See localhost, localhost. Now if I hit this localhost 8080, what will happen? Nothing, because that is not the URL we have. So let's go to the Eclipse pack. What URL we have given? In here this Eclipse, if you see personal information.api, this is the URL given user/API. So you have to take this happened at the end after 8080 plus user/API, right? Now hit getting some issue, right? It's not coming. That means there is something. So we have to see what is went wrong. So get mapping value, right? It should not value even if you don't give it should work. See, there is, in this session, no one is there so that people will interact with me. I am talking to self and explaining self. Yeah, you can say that way. The people that are watching my video, they should learn from it. It will help you, freshers or engineering students or any computer science students. It will help you to grow in your career, whatever I'm telling. Right? So learn it. Now I just did a modification. I need to stop the server and run it again. Okay, so now let's go and see. User localhost colon 8080 user IP. Still, it is the application has no explicit mapping for /error, so you are seeing this as a fallback. So it is not having any error mapping that is showing the fallback. See, anyway, I have to tell you the error mapping also. If something goes wrong, you can put your error response code today in this session. So first we have to see why it is not working. what is the problem, then we'll go for that error mapping. Tomcat, it is saying localhost is completed. See, this is saying com dot example dot satya dot res dot this main started, right? It is saying that, but it is not starting. So there is some issue. We have to see what could be the issue. Right? Now I need to stop this fast. I need to stop and then I need to start. Otherwise, it will tell already started. And to start, action this already in use. See, this is what happened. So what you need to do when you see this kind of issue, you just open your task manager, right? Just open the task manager here, and here you will see Eclipse. Right? In Eclipse, you will see this Java session. And you expand this Eclipse, you will see open JDK binary, open JDK binary. Kill this open JDK binary, platform binary. You know, these are basically used by Tomcat. If you kill this, your Tomcat will stop. If you face a situation what I faced here, no, web server failed to start port 8080 already in use. That means Tomcat is running. It is not stopped. So you follow this process what I said just now. Clean, delete or kill that upon JDK, and then again you start running your application. You will be able to run it. Yes. So this is how it is. Now let's see. Sometimes what happens, no deployment properly won't happen. So we're not able to see it. Ah, so see, it came here now. The deployment was not proper. The class was not proper. See, so this came now. The value, right? Let me maximize this to see you. See that same URL users last API ID first name. ID is first name is ABCD, last name this, middle name this, as this, gender this, right? So this is how it came, right? So now we will modify this particular method to have some more values into it to show how it can be really implemented when we integrate it to service layer. Coming back to the method, not to the main method. Let me close so many classes we don't need in Eclipse to get confused. The two main, this is also another main method. This is from the REST API. From the REST API. Okay. Yeah. So one main method we have now, and this personal information API class, REST API project. Anything else? This is form from the REST API. This is personal information from the router. Okay, this is also we need to close one personal information. This one we need to close. No, this is I need to explain you all these steps what I'm going to do it here. Let's see. Now what we will do, or what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add, some input parameter to this particular method. Some input parameter to this particular method. So how you can add? You can do like this. So let's say you want to search a person by ID, right? So you want to set the ID. You can add this way the ID, and here you can use add the rate path variable, add the rate path variable, right? String ID. This is what you can do. So this path variable is or annotation component. What it does, it basically reads the value which is coming from request parameters or request URL. So this is how it is. Now what I want to do, I want to check if you know if this ID dot is this ID is not equal to null, right? And this id dot is not blank, and if it is not blank, right, And then if it is not empty, then only you will send this ID. You will set this ID to the service method and send it to the service class. Service class will send it to the EO class and it will fetch value from the database. But in this particular situation, I will hard code it to show how the STP works. And ID dot is empty. Right? Your ID is empty, not empty. Then get me this object. Then authorize- get me. It will then give us this object. In line number 16, I just created a empty object, because if there is nothing, then it will send the empty object in the response. We will handle it with error saying that ID is missing. We will create an error exception handling class here and we will say ID is missing. So just keep patience. This is got created, right? This is got created. Now if only I send that ID, then only this ID, then only I will be able to get into this, right? Then only I will be get into this, and then only it will display this data. So what I will do to make that it is actually getting into this and displaying data, I will configure ID equals to, if ID equals to the same ID what I'm setting it in person, then go this display this object. Otherwise, don't display. Right? Yeah, and I will add to make sure that it is getting into that particular uh, condition. Here I will just print one SOP to show you that the value is coming to URL. Now let's stop the server and start. Main method, right? Let's go to the main method and starts. Before starting the server, you should save the file. Each and every time I'm editing, I always click on Control S, the shortcut, and save the file. So you have to always save the file before starting the server. If you don't save the file, you won't get the changes. So let's go back. Application is deployed. Now the same ID I'll pass. Let's go to the browser. I will close all other browsers which I have already accessed. Right? Just open one browser. Let me close this YouTube also. Everything. Yeah. Now this is the ID, right? This is the ID. So what we'll type it again. HTTP // localhost 8080 / user / API, right? So let's go and check user / API. See, then it is ID, right? Then it is ID / ID. So we have to give that user ID after a slash, or that value ID value after a slash. See, this is the value I'm giving after slash, and then click on enter. The server is not started or what? Invalid character name. Okay, something went wrong. Server is not started. For the occurrence HTTP error logged at debug level. Invalid character from method. This method name. Which method name? I think invalid character HTTP method name must be tokens. Right. So let's go and see what is wrong here. Hmm. Let me start the server again and see. Right. I've started again. Let's see if it is throwing the exception while starting or when hitting the URL. See, while starting, it is not showing any exception or error. right? While starting Tomcat is proper, it's not showing any exception error. Now let's say hit this localhost user slash API slash the ID. Now let's go back. Yeah, so it is giving some error, right? It's giving some error. I might have missed a configuration here. I think so here path variable. So we have to give like this bracket double quote. That might be the issue, I'm guessing, because if you won't give that, that will not identify that variable. So let's see again, run it and test it again. So it started, right? Yes, started without any exception. Tomcat started without any exception. Let me, you know, hit it again. Still having some exception, yeah. Error passing HTTP request header. Further HTTP request passing error will be logged debug level. Method name this. Invalid character found in method name this. What is that invalid character? We have to see. Sometimes that's why I always do a POC and then come here. So that here I have done this. Uh, the path variable ID this. Okay, so let me do something. I might be, when I say sending an empty object, but it should match here and it should not send an empty object. Okay, before that, what we will do, I'll just remove this condition here. One condition that is this condition. I'll remove this ID mandatory condition. You see, the output the way we show. Where is that empty? Where is this saying this character? See, it will take this curly braces. That is what it should do. It should take the curly braces, right? It will take the curly braces. So that's how it is here. It should not say something wrong. I do a build again. Sometimes what happens? Sometimes it picks from the jar. Sometimes, right? So Maven build is important. If you are not fetching, if you are not able to see what error you are getting, sometimes it's Maven build is important. Yeah, build is failed. Something is wrong, right? So build is failed. Because threaten the stability of a build for this reason, some problem occur, but in the effective model, for example, to start the so it is used, this that is used by Tomcat. I think so. Tomcat, I have not stopped it, but what I did, see, Tomcat is running, so let me stop it. That's the reason it is not able to clean. It's not able to delete, so it will not be able to deploy the new jar. So let me, I can run the Maven build. So now the build should get successfully. I see. Always you have to alert. You need to stay alert when you are, doing writing Spring Boot program, or uh, when you are, really working with web applications. Web-based applications. You're deploying in Tomcat or Javas. You need to be always alert. The right jar is placed or not. The right build is happening or not. The build is successful now. Now let me go and run it. Because when embedded Tomcat will run, it will pick the jar from the target folder, and sometimes your Eclipse bin folder. If it is picking from the Eclipse bin folder, then you need to record to worry because all the classes files will get you know uh, during your change, all your classes file will get dot class file will get deployed in bin folder, but target folder will only get deployed when you do a build. No, this is Tomcat is running here, right? So let's say now hit it. So this is, no, I don't know why it is saying this HTTP method must be tokens. What is this tokens? Let me remove this ID. It should give an error. It's not giving any error also. Token. This side can't provide. Oh, see, this mistake here is it is HTTPS. I don't know from where HTTPS did came. Now it should give an error. Yes. Now if I put the ID, that's how alert you need to stay. That's why I was telling. Always you need to be alert. I just put this ID now, slash ID, the URL is HTTP because we are not accessing any HTTPS. Localhost colon 8080 slash user slash API. Then the after API slash you have to put the ID. Yeah, it get see. So if you are not alert, if you are sometime debugging your application will create trouble. So you have to stay alert and you have to see all the options where all the things might have gone wrong. Now I will add this equal to there. If this ID is equal to this in line number 20, then only fetch me the information, right? And I will deploy it again. Yeah, Tomcat got started, application got deployed. Let's go and see to the browser. I'll copy this and open it in another tab, to show you. See, the ID I'll give something 80, let's say. One I removed, I just gave 80. When I gave 80, everything is null because returning back, uh, I'm returning back the null object. Right. Now I will give 80, one here, the actual one. What the value? So this is how your REST service, just an interface in front of the service layer and the consumer. The first time I gave the ID 80, second time I gave the actual ID 81, which was there. My bath year is also 81. It comes somewhere December at the end. It's a loss. The whole year is loss for me. When you say 81, people will think, oh, it's so old. Anyway, my certificate has another bath year, that is 83. 1.5 year gap is there. Old days, old school. People get admitted to their school late. So parents, so they do a little bit manipulation back here. Nowadays, bath year again. Today is actually my official bad day. 83 April. Again, my original birthday is 81 December. See, the old days, right? The old days, people, when they admit the kids to school, they manipulate the age. But now you have birth certificate and you need mandatory birth certificate. That's why nowadays everyone will have only one birth date, most of the cases, until unless people don't fake their document. I think why you need to fake the document. Don't fake it. Original is original, authentic is authentic. So let's go ahead. I want to add something to this particular method, right? I want to add some more information to this particular method. How you are going to do that, we will see. See, now I will tell about the exception part of it. How exception can be handled. Right? So how to handle exception when it is in case of Java application. In Java application, you will create your user-defined exception class, extending either compile time exception or runtime exception. The same way here, you need to extend either compile time exception or runtime exception. Right? So I'll create one more package here for exception. I- For exception, I'll create one more package that is REST API. REST API value object we copied from that previous one. REST API is this package I can modify and origin. So REST API dot already package is created for this exception. No, no, this is this. Oh, this is what which one I am doing. Let's see. Oh, I was going to create a package in the wrong package, wrong project. So always be careful. Be alert. You need to stay alert. Yeah. You have the main method here. Yes. And this main method I don't need. Let me make it exception. Yes. Dot API dot exception. So first one exception will create invalid data exception or something like that. Let's create a class invalid data exception. Invalid data exception. This will extend runtime exception. This will extend runtime exception. So see, I have already created, this class, exception class, and tested it. I will just take that from it here, invalid input or invalid data. Copy this so that it will be faster. Invalid data exception, right? So here it is invalid data exception. Similarly, I will copy other classes from here. One is application exception and one is resource not found exception. See, application exception, what is application exception I have done, I will show you. And what is invalid exception, resource not found exception. The resource not found exception is basically, I have written it for, invalid data exception is basically whenever you send an invalid data from the UI and that based on that data, the REST API cannot perform any action. It will send a invalid data and exception or invalid input exception, any kind of thing, right? You can. So I made it invalid data exception so that either the error response or the return data is invalid or the input data is invalid. For both of them, you can say invalid data exception, right? For both of them, you can say always invalid data exception. Resource not found exception. Maybe you are trying to access some resources from this particular using this particular REST API. Maybe you're trying to read some document, or maybe trying to access some kind of resources from this particular REST API. If that resource is not available, it will throw resource not found exception. Right? And then the application exception. Application exception, I made it compile time exception. The reason behind that, when some kind of checked exception, some kind of exception is going to happen and that need to be handled, then you can use the exception, application exception, and you can handle that exception inside your application. Right? This is the reason I have written it here. And for to handle all these, we need to have a REST control advice. The way we have taken an annotation here to define REST controller, similarly, we will have another annotation called REST controller advice to tell the or to return while when any exception happens inside the method, to return the error code or error response to back to the UI, we need to have uh, a REST controller advice, which will advise the REST controller in case of exception, what need to be sent to the UI. So for that also, you need to add something into your bucket or into your class. Now this is what all now I created is basically the exception classes: invalid data exception, resource not found exception, application exception. Now we have to write the main thing. See, there will be one error response object that will send the error response whenever anything happens. So I created one error response object that is called application response object, or you can put any kind of error response object. You can put any kind of error response object to that, and you can always use that, right? So let me put my mobile on charge, otherwise the internet will get disconnected again. Battery is low. Yeah. So see, that's how it happens. So application error response is particularly an object where I'm just adding started code, status code, and a message. Means whatever the error code I'm sending back, and what is the message it will send back to the UI who is basically hitting or trying to get the information, or whoever is calling this REST API, they will get the status code, that is error code, or the message, that they will get it. So to make that happen, there is one more class which I created as global exception handler. This is the very important class which will become our REST control advice. I just maximize it. See, see here, what actually it is written. I'll explain you this class. You need to actually do that way. See, here is REST control advice. I told you what is REST control advice already, right? And here you see it is exception handler, right? It is going to handle any exception, and that not any exception. The exception which is thrown because of resource not found exception, it will handle that kind of exception. Whenever anywhere you say throw new resource not found exception, it will that time this will come to this particular method, handle resource not found exception method. You know, because it is going to handle exception called resource not found. It will come to this method. In this method, it will create error response object, and in this error response object, that is application error response, right? That is application error response. In this error response object, it will set the status code, that is page not found or something. So here, what I'm setting, that HTTP status code not found. I'm setting it here, the value of that. This HTTP status is basically a constant which is given by which you can find inside the package org spring framework dot http, right? Inside that you will find this HTTP status. I have not written it. This is from the spring framework. And what I'm sending in code, I'm setting that. And in error response dot message, what I'm doing, I'm setting the get message. Whatever message the user will set, it will set that message here. If that message is not there, you can add something else to set. I will show you that. And after that, what it is doing, return new response entity. After that, it is returning it as a response entity with error response and http status not found, right? This error response is nothing but the application error response object. And for all other, it is same. See, at the rate exception handler, invalidated exception, at the rate exception handler. This is for any type of exception. This is for any type of exception. And one more class, I have not added it here. I will add it here. I have not added to show you that. See, so that I can add it later. I'll just copy the this it here the that top method, invalidated exception method. I copied it here. What class will go here? It will go as application exception class. Application exception which is a compile time. If you want to throw that, so it will be application exception, and in this case, it will be application exception. It will be right. The handle input is application exception. It will come as application exception, and it is not bad request. Its status will not be bad request. We can give some internal server error or something, right? Internal server error, right? Internal server error status code, and then the message whatever application exception will send it. So we have done this part now, right? Next, we'll go to personal information API. And personal information API, here what I will do in this particular case, ID. Right? Let's say this ID is only available in database 81, and that other no other ID is available. Right? First, we'll take this condition here, and that means it is going to now call the service layer, right? Here we'll put just modifying this method to give an impression that it is calling service layer and fetching data, even if the data is hard coded, right? It will go to the service layer, right? If here we'll put one more condition, if this ID dot equals to this 81, then return this object, right? And we'll add one more here to give a feeling of that it is going to database. If this ID is, let's say, something 80, if this ID is 80, right? Then fetch this information. If something else is sent, is sent, then I want to tell it is, oh, I want to tell what? I want to tell resource not found if something else is sent. Else, yeah, so resource not found. Resource not found exception. I will throw it here, right? Throw a new resource not found exception, and in message ID is not found, right? Whatever ID, whatever ID is coming from the UI will send this ID is not found, right? This ID is not found. This is what resource not found exception. And let's say if the user is sending something invalid, invalid, no data or something else, right? Nothing is sending. So here we will send invalid data, invalid, invalid data exception. Oh, one thing I'll copy the class variables. Spelling I've written something or got correct wrong or correct. So why it is not showing me there? Go here, personal information. I will set it as invalid data exception. Message invalid input data. Right? It is showing error. Cannot visual to a type, invalid data type. Why invalid data exception? Why it is saying that? Why it is saying it will not be able to reach out? It is probably class, right? Import was not there, so I've added the import. Yes. So see, now this is what we have, right? Now let me run it and deploy it and run it, and you see it. Let me see if it is taking from the bin, not from target folder, and without doing any maven build, let me run it and see if it is accepting, then that is good. Otherwise, we will do the maven build. Okay. So here it goes. Here it goes. It is successfully started the Tomcat, right? Now let me go to the browser. 81. Last time when I did a hit for 80, it didn't give me any data. See, 81 I got data. Let's let's see for 80. 80 also I got data. Let's see for 79. See, status for 404. Message ID. Messages ID 922383929 is not found. Right? This is how you are handling the exception. Let me don't give any data. Right? Status code 500 message and unexpected error. Right? This is this is how you handle your this is how you handle your now 104 because I've given a bang, space double quote. That's why ID is not found. So see, this is how you handle your exception. This is how you so simple, right? Sometimes you engineering students or freshers they get confused. It is so simple. Don't get confused. If you are not that technically strong in programming language, nowadays tools are very efficient enough to help you. And again, you can learn from the Google. So many artifacts are available on internet. You can always go through these all artifacts or lessons and you can implement it. During our time when I started my career, I know the way I implemented Apache Axis, then XRP web services, a soft-based web services from Spring, creating WSDL and so many, so many things technically you have to think in mind and create it. That time it was so tough. Now, in few minutes, you can create a software web service and you can create a REST API. That time, not few minutes. It takes time. Right? So this is how the life difference between 2006 and 2025. Okay, so this is what a simple REST service I want to show you. And let me see if I am missing something which I thought of telling you. I will tell that also. I might be missing something. Let me see. Yes, yes, access handling is done. My path URL is done. Now, yes, one more thing I just want to say that XML kind, right? So see, you go to now everything you are now everything you are seeing as what everything you are seeing as JSON. Now, if you need XML, right? So as I said, you go to your dependencies, and in dependencies that first or this one, enable it, enable it. When you enable it, what will happen? Just see, I just enabled it, and I will start the Tomcat. See the difference. Yeah, Tomcat is stop. I have enabled it. There is called Spring Boot. You not required to stop the Tomcat. It should, that is called hot initialization. One is hot initialization. Automatically you drop the jar, it will initialize to start the application. You can do that way also. There are so many technical things are there. It's not possible to discuss everything in this session. Let's not talk about that. Now let me show you by starting the server how it reacts when we enable the foster jar, XML jar. When you enable com.fosterxml.jackson dot the data format, or jackson data format dot xml, how the Spring Boot application behaves, just see it now. When you want your application to accept XML and return XML. Yeah, Tomcat started. I'll go and hit the same things, right? This is 81. I'll hit 81 again. See, everything is in XML. No change, only added the jar. Right? Now, this 80 value I will change. See, this is also in XML. Now, this error I will change. This is also in XML. Now, I will change this error. I will just, see what I'm just refreshing the pages. It is coming in XML, right? Now, let's go back. When you have enabled this particular thing, Jackson data format hyphen XML, still you want to have JSON. So what you can do, you need to have add this produce. You need to add this produce type as JSON. Wherever you need JSON, you don't need any XML. See, you can enable for both of them. The content type can be both of them, and it is always depend on the request and response. So when you add this produce media type dot application JSON value to your this place, you see if I add to the get mapping this particular value, you know it will it will show JSON value. I'll just stop and start the server and show you. See one more thing. I will not show any post method or now here. That post method will see or I will show you when integrating this REST API with service layer. And this is only to make you understand how REST API works. and how you can do it Spring Boot so easily. So your application started, okay, in Eclipse, Tomcat started. I will just go to the again 81, hit it. You got JSON, right? This is, oh no, this is 81. Hit it. You got JSON. Then 80, you got back JSON. Then 79, no, this error response, what happened? It is not giving the error response are not in JSON. And for error response, I think you need to do some configuration. We'll see this later. But your without any the actual response are coming in JSON, right? Whenever you add that produce thing here, right? One more content I just want to say. I want to show you. See, there is something called a request parameter. Instead of @path variable, you can add request parameter also. I will show you that. And when you add request parameter, what actually happens, that also I will show you here. See, in place of variable, I just added request parameter, right? And name is id. See, the only difference is uh, while assessing the uh, this thing, while assessing this thing. So here what you have to do, here you have to remove this id. You have to just put like this, right? Now let me deploy it. Where is my, so it started, right? So what will happen here? See, it is slash user slash API. The same thing. After that, you have to give just a question mark and then you have to send the ID. See here, this slash is there. After API, just give the question mark and then ID equal to the value, right? And then enter. You get the value. What I will do, I'll close all of them. You might be getting confused, right? I'll close all of them and hit again in a phase tab, new tab, right? See, this is the HTTP localhost 8080 slash user slash app whose API question mark ID. Now this is what you have to do and take this into the next tab, put for 80, you get, take this to the next tab, put for something 79, you get the error code, right? IDs, this is not found. Let's put for 82, not found. Let's put this something for 83, found, right? So see, this is how it works. This is how it works. Either you use path variable or you use request parameter. The assessing the URL is bit different. Here, in this case, if you go without question mark and ID, if you directly do slash like the old time, like the old one, and this, you will get an unexpected error. That is, the status space is 500, right? So you get this kind of uh, this kind of error when you do something wrong in your URL. Initially, when I have not added this request advice, initially when I have not added this request advice, in this by creating this global exception class, at that particular time request control advice, at that particular time what was happening? You are seeing Tomcat was giving an error response to us, that is 500 or 404, something was giving, right? But now after adding this request control advice, Tomcat will give in case of Tomcat exception error, but in case of application exception error, you will get a page or get the information from the application. This is what today I supposed to tell you, or I thought of telling you, and I'm going to end this Spring REST API session here. And this Spring REST API session I have shown you get method. Don't worry about the post method. You will see in case of when while in previous in coming session when this particular API this interface is getting integrated with service layer. We will have you have to create a person record, right? While creating a person record, definitely will have definitely we need to have your SF method, and put and post will be used there, right? So anyway, this is what I have for today. Maybe in another few session, full stack development, full stack development thing will complete in another few session, and after that, maybe I will not have any technical sessions. I will upload some other, process management related stuff, or maybe project management or manager related stuff. This videos what I am uploading here related to technologies because of requested by few of engineering students and computer science students. I can say maybe from general graduate or engineering. They are they I know them. They are very from some of my known people. They said me if you can teach us. So I told see I can teach everything because I'm not, that time I was not in that where I went basically. I went to my hometown. I stayed in my hometown. I can't teach you because I'll not be staying here for a long time, but online session I can take. And since then it came into picture. Okay, I will upload some videos. You all can watch it. It was last year they said, see, I'm doing this year. So it's been a long time. Last year, I just told them in pen and paper and in their devices by writing some program, some example. But here, this you are getting a full set, a full integration of all the frameworks which needed to develop a full stack application. You know, so front end to back end. Learn it, grow it. If you have any concerns, if you have any query, you can always ask me. And if you need any information in cloud, you can ask me for cloud also, because I have one video which is I have one video in YouTube which is showing how to implement the same REST API using serverless architecture on AWS cloud. On AWS cloud, you can always look that video. You will understand how serverless architecture is helping us without getting any headache, and we can deploy. Only you need to write a business logic, and you can create a service uh, easily. Watch that video, you will understand how to create a REST API on AWS serverless component using API and Lambda. Right. So here I will end this session. Thank you, everyone. See you in coming session.